What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Robb Johnson Sports Show. I'm Robb Johnson with your guy.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'm introducing you, brother.
Larry Patterson, Game Time Sports Network. Find me on Game Time Sports Network, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Game Time 365 Sports. We said that before. Now we just got to go through with the follows. That's all.
Exactly. And it's almost football season, so when this man get ready to talk football, make sure you listen to Game Time Sports Network this upcoming fall. But before we get to y'all, let's hit the intro.
Let's go! Now it's time for the Robb Johnson Sports Show, presented by the Legacy Maker Sports Network.
Back once again. What is going on, Larry Patterson? How are you doing tonight on this hot Sunday night?
Man, it's been hot. It's been hot all weekend, man. But
yeah, man.
Hey, man, it's about to get even hotter. Sunday night heat. This is Sunday night heat. 1998, 99, around that time, we bringing it back, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
and we're gonna really make it hot because we are about to talk about something that everybody likes to talk about in the world of sports. And what is that? That is the topic of MVP. So right here, MLB, that's the topic. Larry, we're gonna go our top 5 MLB, AL, and NL MVPs. I want you to go first. We're going to start with the AL. You tell me who you got. In fact, Larry, what we're going to do is we're going to go 5-5. So I'll say yours, I'll say mine. We can do stats and all this stuff after, but we say yours first, and I'll say mine, and we'll go down the list. So who is your number? Yeah. You can go first, and then you say your person. I'll say my person. We'll go to 1, and then we'll explain, and then we'll go and talk about the NL. So who is your first person, number 5, that you have on your list for MVP in the American League?
The guy that leads the whole league in home runs and Aaron Judge.
Number 5? Okay. And number 5, you know what's funny?
I thought we were just naming him. Number 5?
Yeah. I mean,
number 5, I'm going to go Adley Rutschman.
Oh, Baltimore Orioles. That's interesting. I think our list may be a little similar. But at number 5, it's funny, I have Aaron Judge, the New York Yankees. Who's your number 4, Larry?
My number 4, I'm going to go with Aaron Judge.
You know what my number 4 is? Adley Rutschman. It's funny how that works. So look, number 3. I'm not going to say 3 through 1 should be kind of interesting because we could go different routes here. But tell me who your number 3 is.
My number 3 is Gunnar Henderson, Orioles.
My number 3, Bobby Witt Jr., Kansas City Royals. Who's your number 2?
Bobby Witt Jr.
All right, my number 2, Jose Ramirez, the Cleveland Guardians. Yeah. So I think number 1 might be a consensus number 1. I'm just guessing. Who's number 1?
Juan Soto.
Juan Soto. So let's go back to this list. Like we talk about a guy like, and it doesn't have to be in particular order. We gave our 5 through 1. Let's talk about a guy like Aaron Judge. 28 home runs, 70 RBIs, having a really good season for the New York Yankees. He opted out of the home run derby, which I think is so important. Last time he did, he messed his swing up. For the Yankees, it's about championships. They got to get to the AL championship game, and they have got to get to the World Series. Because if you think about the Yankees, they are almost like the Boston Celtics all over again. I know that's sacrilegious to say those names, but if you think about it, Boston Celtics, 2008 champions, Yankees, 2009 champions. Could it be an omen here? Am I on the right track?
It's what a coincidence that you say that, and it's a good. But that's why we got people like you in sports, because you go, you just like myself, you go over and beyond to find out that the meat and potatoes of the situation. But that's a good thing, good point that you made right there. No championship since 2009. Same as Boston Celtics, and it's just like the Boston Celtics in the recent years. Like you can't. It seemed like the Houston Astros been the Achilles heel or just that thorn in their side, and then you make moves with the Juan Soto and you grabbing other guys. You grabbed a guy that had 114 hits last year, and what's my man name? I'm blanking on his name. We picked him up today. Um, he came from the Athletics. Blanking on his name. I'm pretty sure he'll come to me. But we picked guys up like him, and he's not
You talking
even.
about Toro?
Huh?
Are you talking about Toro here?
Not Toro. Dude from the A's. Why can't I think of his name? Why can't I think of his name? But yeah, we picked him
Well,
up.
well, go ahead with your point. I'll get it. You go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead
yeah,
with your point.
yeah. The point is just you don't make moves like this without having championship aspirations. There's no more just making it to the ALCS and getting out. It's about moving to the World Series. That's what this is about. You get Cole back later on this year. That's what this is about. Well, he's already back, but
It
did you
looks
find
like Davis, like JD Davis, and made the
JD
trade for JD
Davis?
Davis. Yep,
JD
JD
Davis.
Davis. Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So
He's
it's
a
like
really
moves like you got to think World Series or bust at this point.
definitely. We're looking at Adley Rutschman. 91 hits, 14 home runs, 53 RBIs. Is this the guy that really scares you when it comes to them possibly taking over the lead in the second half? Is that the scare? I mean, because honestly, when you look at Baltimore,
That's a
and I
scary.
don't and I don't mean, and I said this years ago, and people kind of laughed at me a little bit. I said the Orioles were coming. Just like when we go to the NL, there's another team that's going to be coming very soon. People better watch out. The Orioles are coming. So the Yankees better get it done because the Orioles might run this division for a decade or so, man. They're young, they're talented, and this guy leads. This guy leads the pack.
Do you see the Orioles schedule coming up?
Yeah.
They schedule from hell. You play the Cleveland Guardians, who's
I
playing
see the
really good
Braves
ball.
in there too as well.
I think the Braves in there too, but they got a schedule from hell coming up.
And they've lost 3 straight. They've lost 4. They've lost 4 out of the last 6. So they've out of the last 10 games, they've only won 4 games. So it's kind of been a struggle. And they lost 8-1 to the Astros today. So
So
uh,
thanks to the Astros, who I think is going to just mysteriously come back and take this AL West over, because I mean Seattle 5-5 in their last 10. You getting wins over a team like Baltimore, you sweeping them. This is
yeah,
this is Houston just making their run slowly but surely. They're only 6 back from the Mariners.
yeah.
But Baltimore, you got Texas, who's not a team to sleep on, and then you got Seattle. So these are 2 teams that you don't want to mess with, and this is going
Well,
to
yeah.
show what Baltimore is all about.
Well, see, that's the thing, Larry. And I misspoke about the Braves, but what I will say is this. So, what is this? This is going into July. So their next series is against Cleveland, which is critical. They've got to win that, right? So I'm not really looking at too much. When you go to July, you got to go to Seattle for 3 games, but then you got to go to Oakland for 4 games. And we know that Oakland is tough. We know that Oakland is not gonna slouch down for anybody, right? Oakland is one of those teams that plays good baseball all the time. Then you play the Yankees in was that July the 12th through the 14th. You get those as home games, which is great. That's a good thing. But then you play the Marlins. The Marlins are a sneaky team. They're not a great team. They're a sneaky team. You play the San Diego Padres. You got the Padres for 4 games, which they're always tough. Now you go into August, and this is where things get tricky, right? You got the Guardians 4 games. You got the Blue Jays 4 games. You got to play against the Rays. The Rays always play better later in the season. You got to play against the Nationals, who, again, we'll talk about them later. The Red Sox, who've been feisty, they got to go to New York and play the Mets, who are just been on fire lately.
Hey,
And then here's the kicker. late August, you play the Astros, and we know the Astros are going to be back in things, right? August the 27th, you got the Dodgers for 3 games in LA. That could do real things. Then you got to go to that altitude in Colorado where you're going to lose your breath. Going into September, you play the White Sox. You should be able to beat them. You play the Rays at home. Then you got the Red Sox on the road, the Tigers on the road, who are going to be tough. You got to go against the Giants in September. One of those teams you don't want to play in September. And then from September the 24th to September the 29th, you got the Yankees 3 times, and then you got the Twins 3 times. So Baltimore's going to earn this. Baltimore's going to and for them to really make a run, Aldi Rushman's going to have a big second half. That's why I put him in number 4, because he's going to be the key for the Baltimore Orioles to get to where they want to get to.
Absolutely, I agree.
And then when you look at Bobby Witt Jr., you warned me about him before the season. I was already a fan of his anyway. But just talk about the season he's having, man. 60 runs, 99 hits, 12 home runs, 21 stolen bases. 21 stolen bases. Ramirez is second, I believe. Ramirez has only, I believe he only has like 14 stolen bases. But, yeah, Bobby Witt Jr., talk about him.
One of those players, a part of one of those teams that I done warned a lot of people about since the beginning when we did one of our first shows, probably our first show. So, 99 hits, man, hitting at 314.
Yeah.
You know, it don't get no better than that. So, 60 runs, you know what I'm saying, that 53 RBIs, like he's leading that, he's putting that team on his back. He got the contract this past offseason, so he's definitely earning. He's like Kansas City getting their money's worth out of that.
Yeah, the Royals right now are half a game back. And it may have been updated. It may have been updated better than that. They lost today, but it may be an actual game. But they're right now in the MLB standings I have on the score app. They're a half game back. So that's huge. Right now their wild cards are the Orioles, Twins, and Red Sox.
Damn.
So it's starting to get jam-packed in the AL as well.
They were the second team in the AL wild card for like a stretch of the season. And now you're like 8 or 9 games back in the Central from the Guardians, who seem to just be taking that over right now.
Yeah, but the problem with the Guardians,
and Royals, and like it's like that in independent, it's like they're sinking back. But as far as that, it's like they're right there.
I think the problem with the Orioles the Guardians, and going back to their days of being the Cleveland Indians, they have a history of not producing when it comes to the postseason. So, and it's documented, right? It's documented throughout the playoffs. It's documented through the 90s, the 2000s. It's documented with that when they were up 3-1 against the Cubs, correct? And the Cubs came back and won the World Series.
Yep.
So it's documented that they've had their struggles and they're a cursed franchise. But this could be the year that they shock people, because you can't tell me there's a team besides the Dodgers, there's not a team in the NL right now that you can't tell me that the Guardians could not beat on a big stage. And for that to happen, a guy like Jose Ramirez, who has 58 runs, 19 home runs, and has 14 stolen bases, he's going to have to come up big. Well, speaking of coming up big, let's talk about the NL. Give me your number 5 for the NL.
My number 5 for the NL is going to be a pitcher. And I'm going to say Ranger Suarez.
I like that.
92 innings pitched.
Yeah.
10-1 on the season. A 1.76 ERA, 95 Ks.
Wow.
He's walked 19 batters, only given up 6 home runs.
Wow.
We've seen pitchers like Clayton Kershaw. I know it was another pitcher somewhere that won an MVP in the NL, I want to say, and I can't think of it. But you gotta show love to those pitchers, like the Cy Young. If they're pitching at an efficient level like this, they got to be included in the MVP conversation.
Oh, most definitely.
As your number 5.
Well, a lot of people may not agree with this, but I don't know how people can't agree with it. As I go back to my score app and I look at the standings for right now in the wild card, this team is a half game back. I said before the season that they were going to somehow possibly make a playoff run. CJ Abrams, the Washington Nationals. Yes, because the Washington Nationals, as I told you before the season, as I put on my Facebook post before the season, they're coming. They're going to be dangerous the next couple of years. They're going to continue to build. They're young team. CJ Abrams, he came from that Padres trade for Juan Soto when he went to San Diego, and now he's not even in San Diego anymore. He's in New York killing things. So, but the Padres are still in the mix as well. Padres are actually the team up on the Nationals in the wild card, which is again symbolic of just being crazy. Who's your number 4?
My number 4 is Bryce Harper. 70
At 4?
4.
At 4?
At 4.
Man, okay.
Just wait to see who I got at 3, 2, 1.
Now, I'm pretty sure you have another Philly in there. You have to. If you have him that high, you have to have another Philly. So, again, this name may shock people a little bit, but this team is 39-37 somehow, some way. They struggled at the beginning of the season, but they just continue to play good baseball. And I really like their grit and what they're doing. In their division right now, they're 5 games back, but they have a chance to catch in Milwaukee. Nolan Gorman, St. Louis Cardinals. I mean, do you see the things that the Cardinals are doing? They're 39-37. How?
Yeah.
They're not supposed to be here. The Cubs are supposed to be in that spot. You know, even though the Cubs are still 1.5 games back, the Cubs are supposed to be in that position, not the Cardinals. So, you know, and it's Busch Stadium. It's the St. Louis Cardinals. It's baseball tradition. You gotta love it. So, who's your number 3?
My number 3, I'm going to go with your boy Ronaldo Lopez. Braves. He's 5-2 on the year. He's pitched 71 innings pitched, 7 ERA, 76 Ks. And like I said, I told you before, I'm showing pitchers love.
Gotcha.
This year with this episode. So you should be very happy. And I also have another Atlanta Brave and not another Philadelphia Philly on for the next one.
Yeah, see, I don't have a Brave because and this one kind of got to me a little bit because I could have picked between these guys, but when I was looking at my list and everything that I had going on here, I'm gonna switch it. I'm gonna switch it here. I'm gonna go with oh man. I was gonna go with Hernandez, but you know what? I'm gonna go William Contreras, catcher. For the well, no, I'm not gonna go Wilson Contreras. I'll stick with her. I'll go Tezar Hernandez from the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think he's having a really decent season. Mookie Betts is out. I could have gone Freddie Freeman, but I think Tezar Hernandez is gonna be the reason that the Dodgers make a run here and then. So I'm gonna give him some love at number 3. Who do you have at number 2?
Number 2, I got your boy Marcell Ozuna.
Yeah, he is third, and he is ranked third in the NL with a 314 batting average.
He is a hidden SOB 312. Just like you said, 312 batting average. He's got 86 hits on the year, 45 runs, and 16 doubles with 20 homers, 64 RBIs. It seems like every time he's getting to the plate, he is hitting. So much love and respect to Marcell Ozuna, who's always been a clutch hitter.
Yeah. Number 2, I have Bryce Harper. I got Bryce Harper. I think Bryce Harper is one of the better players in Major League Baseball, even though he hasn't come through yet. He still needs to win a championship. So you got number 1. Number 1, I think it's number 1 is consensus, right? Like,
we might as well say both of us got Shohei Ohtani.
At 1, 2, 3, Shohei Ohtani. I mean, what he's doing, coming off injury, and this guy's still going to be pitching. And I'm not saying that the NL list is not as important as the AL, because I think the AL is the better conference. But come on, man, we know who the best player in the NL is.
Yes,
it's not even close.
Yes,
Like,
we gotta go.
we don't need really even talk about the stats because what Shohei Ohtani is doing in LA is critical. And with Mookie Betts being out, this will
Uh,
be able to show us what the Dodgers can do even more. So when Betts comes back, it's like, damn, who's going to stop the Dodgers? Who's
yep,
going to stop the Los Angeles Dodgers?
yep. Mookie Betts out 6 to 8 weeks. Am I correct? Six.
Yes, with the broken hand. Yep.
Devastating injury at this time of the year, but this is not the time that you need to be focusing on right now as far as winning. That's later on in the year. You got a lot of time. Go ahead and rehab. Shohei's gonna put the Dodgers on his back and continue with that 3.21 not ERA, the batting average that he has, and don't even talk about the 97 hits that he has. So yeah, man, that's all I got for
The 57 RBIs, the 23 home runs that leads the NL by at least two over Ozuna. Um, yeah, it's just nasty right now, man. So basically that's what we have for our AL and NL MVPs, our predictions. We'll have more on this next week as we talk more baseball. Now, let's talk about this next subject. It involves this young lady right here, Miss Caitlin Clark, and it involves this young lady right here, Miss Angel Reese.
man.
Man, you want to talk about a basketball game? Larry, middle of the third quarter. I believe Caitlin Clark had 17 points through three, but didn't score in the fourth. The Indiana Fever were up 75-64. From that point on, the Chicago Sky went on a 28-13 run.
Mm,
Angel Reese, 25 points, 16 rebounds.
mm.
She becomes only the
Talk,
second rookie of all time
talk
to
to me.
accomplish 25 and 15. Besides who? In 2018, Miss Asia Wilson, the future Hall of Famer who could still be one of the greatest players that we ever see once she's done, who could break an all-time WNBA record for points per game this season.
The best player in the league.
Shout out to LaShawn McCoy, who said that Angel Reese had no skill.
Mm.
Shout out to people who clowned her vertical. But I will say this, though. Getting off Angel Reese, let me say this. The Indiana Fever are eventually going to have to get a new head coach. I'm going to start there because the position that Fever were put in today, Larry, was absolutely atrocious. I'm sorry. The position that the Fever were put in today was absolutely horrible. In the first half and like midway through the game, the pick and pop game between Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark looked like Jokic and Murray. You have to admit it. It was beautiful basketball. Christy Sides is a very good head coach. I have nothing against Christy Sides. She's been, have nothing against her. But I will continue to say this, and I will continue to harp on this point. If they want to keep Caitlin Clark, they're going to have to get a coach in there like a Dawn Staley to maximize her game. And you notice what they had a young lady on there with a small not the greatest skill set today on Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark dominated her. Every time you put somebody, you cannot put a less skilled person on Caitlin Clark. Now, when Shields started guarding her and they started, coming off the screens and getting off the screens and getting on Caitlin Clark, that's when she started to struggle. That's something she's got to learn. She still had a great game. 17 points, 13 assists.
She
She
played in
played
it.
a great game. I don't put it on Caitlin Clark. I put it on the coaching and I put it on the game plan, man. You're up 75, 74, 64. Listen, the Sky did everything in God's name today to give them that game.
Yeah.
The Sky were trying to give them the game.
Yep.
But then Angel Reese put them on their back, and Cardosa, man. And if Cardosa gets going, it's going to be ugly, man.
We said that last week, remember?
Yeah. And she's getting healthy, man.
Yeah.
She's getting healthy. And I'll make this last point as well. The Sky are now in the 8th seed in the for the playoffs. Atlanta is struggling big time. They could easily pass Atlanta, get that 7th seed, and continue to climb.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Before Reese got going, it was 6:38 left. Um, she had 10 points and 5 rebounds through in the Sky's comeback. So she was very good. As far as like attacking the rim and putting the team on her back with the scoring.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
she had a monster game. I'm telling you right now, like through the rest of this season, this is I can't wait to see what happens. And I mean, you're not too you're not on Indiana's coach. It's too hard right now, but they just coming off of 4 straight wins.
True, true. But
Terrible.
exactly. But that's the thing because it's too inconsistent. I mean, they play some teams that honestly, man, look at the Fever. The Fever won 13 games last year. You add a Caitlin Clark, that's 7, 8 wins right there.
Yeah,
You should easily be in the playoffs.
yeah,
Let's I would like to give them a break, but I can't. Now, getting back to the Sky, Marina Mabry is a liability. I'm sorry. She's a liability. Caitlin Clark took advantage of her every time she got on her today. In fact, when you go what was it? 1 of 10 from three? It's horrible. Man, there was a point where they were out shooting them at just a crazy pace when it came to three-point shooting. But Mabry is a good player, and I'm sure that she can start to maybe get things going. But Caitlin Clark was taking advantage of her today. But then
yeah.
when they
But
put shields on her, when they put the shields on Clark, that's when she started struggling. Kind of reminiscent of the national championship game. You know what I mean?
yeah, and also me and my cousin was watching the game. Like there's
Hmm.
some things about Aaliyah Boston that I like, but at times, and this is why I do agree with you on the point when you say that they got to get a different coach in there,
Yeah,
because if you bring a Dawn Staley in there, I think that she can get the best out of Aaliyah Boston. But there were some plays in there, and at times Aaliyah Boston is playing like it's like it's lazy. If you follow me,
yeah,
it's like it's
yeah,
not all the way there. But if you bring in a
yeah.
coach Staley, I feel like she can get the most out of her because she's definitely capable of it. But that last play at the end of the game where Aaliyah Boston took the last shot, I feel like that's Clark's shot to take. I'm not discrediting Aaliyah Boston, but obviously she didn't hit it. Kaylin at times was hitting her shots. you already know.
Yeah.
Uh, but I do like the Sky's defensive strategy on when she got the ball and Camila Cardoso was in her face, a bigger defender was in her face. Like you had to switch it up because there's no way you getting that shot off
I
over her.
mean, man, Caitlin Clark is 5 of 9 from three. She's 5 of 9. I mean, come on. And bigger than that, let's look at the overall numbers of the 3-point shooting because I believe during the halftime they were like, hey, the Sky are gonna have to start making threes because they're only making twos. Let's look at it. The Sky were 4 of 17 from 3-point land. That's 23%.
Yeah,
The Fever were 13 of 30. That's 43%. That's not a bad shooting percentage. Now, here's the difference in the game, and this tells you why. And to your point with Boston, he seems to be more physical. The Sky out rebounded the Fever 38-25. That can't happen. But when you have Reese and Cardosa, that just might happen. But here's the kicker: 22 of 32 from the free throw line were the Sky. Guess what the Fever were? 10 of 14. They weren't
14.
aggressive. They weren't aggressive enough. They weren't aggressive enough. And the thing is that pick and pop game between Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark was working. But Kelsey Mitchell had 23 points on the day? And then I'm looking on social. Yeah, she had 24 points. And I'm looking on social media, and people are upset. They're blaming Kelsey Mitchell, saying that Caitlin Clark needs better teammates, all this other stuff. I mean, where would they be without Kelsey Mitchell?
Yeah,
There are just times where they know how to blitz Caitlin Clark and make her give up the ball. But getting back to Angel Reese and Cardosa, you know, Angel Reese she just started bullying people. She just started bullying people. And that's just the bottom line. There's no other way to put it. Camilo Cardosa, 16 points, 10 rebounds. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, yeah.
This
Eight,
dominating people, man.
great 8 defensive rebounds. I think this is going to be the testament of this team going forward and in the future. Like that, Teresa Witherspoon wants to play a physical type of game. You having
Mm-hmm.
played Kennedy Carter, and then you adding with Angel Reese, what she can do on the offensive and defensive end, and then with Camila Cardoso crashing the ball and working, mixing it up in the low blocks. You want physicality, and I think that's where she wants to go with it. A coach that's experienced this type of thing.
I mean, when you look at the Chicago Sky, do you think it would be the best interest for both teams to possibly make the playoffs? I know that it's not going to probably happen, but do you
No,
think it would be in the best interest for both teams to make the playoffs, or do you think that either one of these teams could possibly shock anybody if they got to the playoffs?
yeah, they both can shot. They both can shot. You said what Chicago is the AC right now?
Yeah, the AFC, because they're out of the 12 teams, 8 teams make it, and so that means that they would probably be facing the Minnesota Lynx right now at the playoff start today. But again, the Atlanta Dream are struggling big time. They're
Yeah,
struggling big time. They're not playing good basketball. You really have to worry about them and what they've got going on. So yeah, the Atlanta Dream aren't playing good basketball right now, man. Not at all.
I can't
Not at
wait
all.
till teams come in there and we can have it probably still be an 18 playoff format,
Yeah,
but move along further down the road, you have more teams, and the game will continue to grow.
definitely, definitely, definitely. We don't have a graphic for this next one because this one is just complete chaos, and we ain't got time. I don't have time for no graphic. All this is just the craziest. Like it took over everything. It took over It took over basketball. It took over NHL. It took over everything in sports this week. We know that now LeBron would probably stay in Los Angeles, but if you had a mystery team that he could possibly go to, we're gonna make this quick. Who would he go to?
Um, Maybe Dallas. I saw something. I saw something on social media, like Dallas. Dallas would be a good destination for him. I don't know if you want to go
I
there.
was thinking the same thing, and I don't know why, but Dallas is trying to flirt with LeBron some way, somehow, maybe trying to draft his son. Which, I mean, Bronny. For all the critics of Bronny James, the man came off a heart attack, right? So we don't know what his season at USC really could have been,
Yeah,
and we don't know what his career is going to be like. So we'll see how that goes. I would say Dallas as well. But to get to the meat and potatoes, because once we put these topics out, we saw that JJ Redick was not a coach. What do you think about JJ Redick as the coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, and how do you think it'll go? Honestly, will it be over by the All-Star break? And will Anthony Davis get traded to Chicago Bulls, as a source told me this morning that they're looking at happening?
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like you
I
shouldn't have.
went there. I went there.
I don't know because I don't know, man. I don't know. It's like why do you? I get it, but we in a different time now. But I feel like
Yeah.
the coaches are catching hell, and I feel like
Yep.
if JJ is not coaching and leading this team in the direction, at least like you said about All-Star break, like they're gonna start be pointing. The finger pointing is gonna start to begin. It's gonna be fingerprints, finger pointing. It's gonna
Yeah.
be, a lot of just a lot of drama, and I just feel like the Lakers are just that drama team. The Lakers are like the Dallas Cowboys, in my opinion. It's like a lot of drama. It's a lot of headlines. You know,
True. True. But except the Cowboys are worth more, and
absolutely.
they're worth a lot more, and the Lakers are. I don't know, man. I think the fans are starting to get there a little bit, as being a little bit crazier, just a
It's
little bit, because oof.
it, do you think like with the whole podcast situation, like that, maybe that was the job interview.
I don't know. Like, I just,
Like that was the interview.
I don't know, man. Like, none of it makes any sense to me because honestly, if you're gonna hire somebody, you either hire Monty Williams or Sam Cassell. Sam Cassell just came off a championship. Sam Cassell is what? Was a lot better point guard than JJ Redick. I mean, JJ Redick he called him maybe a shooting guard. But think about what Sam Cassell could have done or could still do which I think would be crazy if he comes on the staff. Because if he comes on the staff, you know how much pressure's on JJ Redick?
Yeah.
You know how much pressure so maybe, just maybe, because see, the Lakers are the same team who could have hired Jason Kidd.
I don't think it'll be that much pressure though, and you know why. You know why. Look at you know why, but it would be some sort of pressure, but not like, say if Sam Cassell was that coach, if he was named that coach of the team, wouldn't be that type of pressure. But it is going to be all eyes.
I think JJ Redick can do well, and I mean in this sense, I think that he could take a guy like Austin Reeves and really teach him, do different things with him, etc. But man, this whole Chicago thing is weird to me because the rumors have been floating for years about Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, but at this point in their careers and the injury histories and everything, and just everything like that, would you really want Zach LaVine if you're the Lakers for Anthony Davis and more players? And not at this point, because Anthony Davis didn't have a bad year last year. I mean, the last couple of years they ran into the Denver Nuggets. They're the Denver Nuggets, man. Yeah. If you get past the Nuggets, all bets are off at that point.
Absolutely. So no, Zach LaVine doesn't make the Lakers any better, especially Anthony Davis. But to your point about who did you just talk about? My guy, Austin Reeves.
Austin Reeves, yeah.
Austin Reeves, but JJ Redick working with similarities. You know what I'm saying? What JJ Redick was, the type of player that Austin Reeves can be. Austin Reeves can hit. He can hit on some nights. Yeah. So I definitely feel you there. He can get the most out of him. We'll see what happens.
I don't think it's a small time trade, but I think that the Lakers could somehow finagle or, sucker the Atlanta Hawks and give them Murray. That could be something. Yeah. Or see, Trae Young, they might ask for too much.
But I do like that, because if you're looking at D'Lo versus DeJounte Murray is kind of like a two-way, Yeah. He can distribute the ball. He can do a lot more. So, yeah, I can see that.
I just think the Lakers need to somehow – I don't think they should get rid of all their draft capital. But if they can get a Trae Young and give up some draft capital, maybe something in the future, that would be helpful. But the biggest thing for the Lakers, they need depth. They need depth. They need to build. They have talent on the roster now. Build that talent. Build Absolutely. That talent. And one thing I will say, people keep saying LeBron is going to be JJ Redick's puppet. One thing about JJ Redick, he went to Duke and he survived Maryland. So he survived Maryland. So if you can survive that Maryland crowd in 2000, 2001, 2002, whenever it was, when he was at Duke, he could survive anything. So I think he has tough enough skin. I think he'll come in there and do good things. Hey, remember, not the same situation, but nobody thought Steve Kerr would do anything in Golden State.
Right.
Just saying. Right. Just saying. Even though JJ Redick isn't a champion like Steve Kerr, nobody foresee what we saw.
He has a brilliant basketball mind. He can talk his shit.
And who taught him? Who taught him at the highest level? Coach Krzyzewski, who the Lakers tried that once upon a time hire.
And glad he didn't come.
Yeah. So let's go to our next topic: the AFC and NFC East. And people wonder why I don't have anything on the AFC side. Well, we'll get to that. We'll talk about the NFC. We'll talk about the AFC. We'll talk about them now. But the biggest storyline in this two divisions are the Cowboys and Eagles, and who's going to win this division. Is Dak going to have the same season he did last year and win a playoff game or more? And will Jalen Hurts recover from the season he had last year? Let's start with the AFC first, man. Let's talk about the AFC. Let's talk about the Miami Dolphins.
The Miami Dolphins, man. Let me find it here. There we go.
I've never in my life seen a team that is so talented that cannot play in cold weather. When they just were competitive a few years ago in Buffalo, they add Odell Beckham Jr. They got so many wide receivers, man. It's crazy.
So much speed, so much
It's a
different
track team.
Yeah, so much different wide receivers over there, like you said. I will say the addition of Odell Beckham Jr., how do you feel about that?
I think that he'll be better than advertised. They just need to use him in the slot. Because use him in the slot. Use him in the slot against your nickel corners, your dime corner, against the guys in dime packages. Get him on linebackers. I mean, he's gonna be like the third, fourth, fifth receiver. He's gonna be on linebackers. If he can't be linebackers, it's time to retire.
Yeah, he's probably like the third wide receiver.
Yeah. And then you bring in Chop Robinson from the draft. So I mean, yeah, they lost Christian Wilkinson, but this Dolphins team is still very, very interesting to me, man. And this division's wide open. So
and one thing I did like what they did in the draft, they drafted Jalen Wright out of Tennessee. So you add more speed to the backfield that you had with Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson and Devin Achane. So you add that. It's going to be crazy in that training camp, in that running back room and come training camp. But like you said, the Chop Robinson pick, I like that. You bring in a possible pass rusher with Bradley Chubb being there, who, let's be honest, sometimes he's healthy, sometimes he's not.
Yeah.
So, I should know. So and then bringing a guy like Muhammad Kamara out of Colorado State, who I like. I liked him coming out of the draft, and I wanted Denver to get him. But I feel like he can bring some stuff over there too. You bringing in a Kendall Fuller at the cornerback position, I like that.
You know what's funny? And you mentioned Tennessee, and I know this name seems so far beyond and gone for some people, but Adrian Foster was so good, man. When in the short time he was at Houston, undrafted free agent. You think about him, Alvin Kamara. So Tennessee has a little bit of a track record of producing running backs in the NFL. So it's just that's something to think about. If you're the Dolphins, this is the year that you find out whether you pay Tua or not. Because once you pay Tua, there's no coming back. There's no coming back.
Excellent.
You got to be damn sure. But I mean, hey, if Trevor Lawrence can get paid, and I mean, basically the Chargers gave him that playoff win, then
the theme for Tua this year is to keep rising. Can you capitalize off of what you did last year?
Exactly. Let's talk about another team in the AFC East. Let's talk about, take your pick. Let's talk about the Buffalo Bills. What are the Bills going to do?
The Bills, I feel like the Bills are probably going to win the East again. And I think Keon Coleman is going to take the league by storm. Josh Allen, I said this years ago. I said Josh Allen needs that big body, Calvin Johnson height type of receiver. Throw it up, go up and get it. He needs that.
Florida State wide receivers haven't had the best track record in the NFL, though.
Say that again.
I said sometimes the Florida State wide receivers don't have the best track record in the National Football League.
Hey, Ohio State didn't have the best quarterback track record in the NFL too, and C.J. Stroud put that to rest last year.
And that's true. That's true. But how many? That's one out of how many? A lot.
A lot.
So that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is sometimes it works out for somebody. And then we still have to look and see what happens to CJ Stroud in the future, because you know how it is, man. These guys come in, they do great things, and then the teams screw them up
Yeah,
themselves. And the
yeah,
Houston Texans have had a history of screwing up their own players. But hey, we're not going to talk about that right now. But anyway, the
yeah.
Buffalo Bills to me are interesting because I look at what they bring to the table. Um, I really thought Troy Franklin should have been the guy, the wide receiver there for them. Yeah, even though now he's in Denver, I thought Troy Franklin should have been the guy for Buffalo. We'll see how the running game goes. We'll see how they recover, because that was a devastating loss that they suffered against Kansas City. Let's be honest, that was a devastating loss.
Hell yeah.
So now
Uh,
let's go to the Jets. We don't have to spend too much time on them because I know we talked about them a few weeks ago. Basically, is it all about Aaron Rodgers staying healthy?
that's it. That's it. And that's all. Can he stay healthy? Because the defense is going to play it at a dominant level, adding Hassan Reddick for
Mhm.
pass rushing.
If he
So
ever if he ever comes back to the country.
well, we got a couple months. We got a couple months. Well, we got next month. You got to report next month.
Yeah,
But we'll see what happens with that. But they're still going to be pretty dominant on that side of the ball now. Like you said, Aaron is all on him if he can stay healthy, because this team this offense can be explosive with
yeah.
him.
And I think Fashanu is a very good addition on their offensive line as well. So I think that's very important for them. Now let's go to the last team. The New
We talked
England Patriots.
too.
Say it again.
Talked about this team before too. The Patriots.
Yeah. Did me talk about the mistake they made with drafting Drake May at number 3,
Uh,
which I feel like they did. But I also am on record saying that if Jacoby Brissett starts the season, which I think he will, I think that, man, how I feel about the receiver. You know how I feel about that receiver.
yeah,
So I really think that the Patriots, I'm not gonna say that they're gonna win the Super Bowl or anything, but would it shock me if they won 8, 9 games and Jacoby Brissett had a really good season and Ramondre Stevens had a good season? No. That defense is still really good.
yeah,
Really good.
yeah. And you get Christian Gonzalez back next year.
Yeah.
Who was off to a great start. And we talked about that, I think, a couple episodes ago when we highlighted the Patriots. Their wide receiver. I'm going to say right now, people may look at it and say it's not the best, but if you look at Juju Smith-Schuster, okay, we know what he's done in this league. He's a wide receiver for a reason. He's in the NFL for a reason. KJ Osborne coming from Minnesota. Demario Douglas, who was their leading receiver last year. Kendrick Bourne. I think he sign a deal this past offseason.
Yeah.
No, he was hurt.
And they got my guy Javon Baker.
Got Javon Baker, he's gonna be the X factor in this shit. Excuse my language. He's gonna be the X factor in this thing. I really like him, and then you got guys like Jalen Polk too, who they drafted. So, yeah, and then you add Austin Hooper to go along with Hunter Henry. That's gonna be a nice offense if they can keep it going.
Yeah, Javon Baker, man, is the type of guy where, he started off at Alabama. He went to UCF, and I just think he's going to be a really good wide receiver. He's only 22 years old. He's a young guy. He's like I say, went to UCF. There are comparisons to Brandon Marshall. So without the off the field stuff that Brandon Marshall obviously came into the league with, but he got himself straight. God bless him. Yeah, I think the Patriots are going to be a lot better team than people think. Now,
Yeah,
let's go to the NFC East. I'm going to get this out the way right now. If Drew Lock starts, he's matured, and you being a Broncos fan, you know about Drew Lock all too well. Drew Lock has matured. Going through Seattle has matured Drew Lock. Daniel Jones needs to watch his back, because to me, there's a good chance that Drew Lock will be the starting quarterback for the New York Giants.
I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if he is too, because we've seen the potential in him with his first few starts that he had in the league. We saw the potential there. We saw the game winning drives. We saw what he can do. So didn't he played Philly last season on Monday Night Football?
And beat him. And beat him.
Beat him and beat him. So we know the potential is there, like you said. Daniel Jones definitely's got a target on his back, and
And I'm and
this is the year for Daniel Jones to prove it as well. Like,
and,
hey,
and I'll say this about the Giants as well. Devin Singletary is not as bad as a running back people want to make him out to be.
exactly.
He could be a little more versatile. Now, here's the kicker. You got Malik Neighbors, wide receiver at LSU. If you can get a guy, if they can get just decent protection, you can't tell me that Jalen Hyatt can't outrun most of these DBs in this league. Jalen Hyatt with that 4.1, that 4.2,
Mm-hmm.
sub 4.2, sub 4.3 speed. And then Malik Neighbors, man, the Giants could be one of those sneaky teams.
I got
But
go
go ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Yeah, you go ahead. Good.
I got another one of those players that the Giants drafted this year, Theo Johnson out of Penn State. I feel that Giants, they love their tight end. The history
Yeah.
of the Jeremy Shockeys, the Kevin Bosses. Well, he could be another one. And Daniel Jones, he better be Daniel Jones' best friend this year.
Well, one thing about Penn State tight ends, one thing I know for damn sure, they block. Because if they don't block, they won't be on the field. So let's go to our next team. And this team is a little bit of a they're a mystery because they brought in a lot of different people. They've told us
Oh,
they've changed. Go ahead.
before you go to your next team, we got to highlight the defense. I just want to say that real quick. The New York Giants
Oh
defense
yeah. Oh yeah, good point.
line is going to be truth. It's going to be the truth. Brian Burns, and then there was still with Dexter Lawrence, Aziz Ojolari, Kayvon Thibodeau, all those guys.
Thibodeau, yep.
It's going to be nasty. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then their secondary is not going to be that bad either. Their secondary started to show some improvements. Their linebacker core as well. They're a tough team. They're a tough team, and they're going to continue to play well. They almost beat Buffalo last year. They went to Buffalo, damn near beat them.
Yeah.
The difference is there's no more Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor had a really good season for them last year. So, and that's one thing we forgot to mention about the Jets. They do have backup in Tyrod Taylor. So if anything goes bad this year, at least they got a decent backup.
One thing that scares me with Tyrod Taylor is that he's going to go to that team and when he's in there and the starting quarterbacks he's somehow some way he's going to get hurt, and that training staff or whatever is going to F him up, just like they did in San Diego with a punctured lung, and then he was just out for the rest of the season. It just seemed like whenever he gets a starting opportunity and he excels, it's like something happens. So
because and like I said, he doesn't go too far. He goes from the Giants to the Jets, so he's in the same stadium, same place, same familiar. Just he goes from being a Giant to a Jet. He just goes from being a big boy to a jumbo jet, I guess you could say. Now, going to this next team, they signed pretty much everybody under the sun. There are rumors that Brandon Ayuk could be their next wide receiver target. I'm talking about the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels. What do you expect from this team? Do you expect this team? There are some people out there who are saying this team could win a division. What do you think?
I don't know about winning the division, but I'm putting Jalen Daniels. This needs to be his year from right now.
Are you putting the world on notice? Are you putting the world on notice about the Commanders?
It has to be. It has to be. You make them. The Commanders have not been perfect or good at drafting quarterbacks in the first round. They had RG3. What happened with that? And you went the Dwayne Haskins route. You see how that happened. Then
rest in peace, by the way.
Rest in peace. You drafting a quarterback second overall in this situation, in this city. He needs to put this team on his back immediately, make the statement, because you know how fast the year rolls by, and your rookie season, you only get one season. You get one season to
Mm.
prove if you're the guy going into next year, because your rookie season, yeah, people give a damn about it, but sports people like, look, we don't give a damn about your first year. What you do in your second year. So, but what you do in your first year, it all tells what you can do. So with Daniels, but every quarterback that was drafted in the first round, from Caleb Williams to Jay Daniels to Drake May to JJ McCarthy to Bo Nix, this is your time to put the team on your back. Michael Penix, with the exception of that, because we know what Atlanta did.
Mm.
But even with guys like Drake May, who was talked about just sitting and riding the bench, until he gets developed or whatever. No, he can go into training camp. These guys have the opportunity to compete. That's what it's
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
So
Well, I'll say this about the Commanders. This is a big year for Terry McLaurin.
yeah,
Huge. And they have to get it done because see, their Daniel Snyder excuses are starting to run out. And one thing the Commanders did that was very smart, which I don't think they may have done 5 years ago, they traded Sam Howell. If they had not traded Sam Howell, all hell would have broke loose this year. You know it, and I know it. You know it, and I know it because those fans love Sam Howell so much. I never understood it. I didn't get it. I believe Eric Bieniemy got the best out of that quarterback that he could, and then he just became Sam Howell. He just became Sam Howell. I mean, at one point he had Sam Howell throwing for 300-400 yards a game, which it should have been a sign to us how bad the Eagles' defense was. That Sam Howell was absolutely destroying them. But the Commanders have the opportunity here to do some good things. They have an opportunity to change the trajectory of their franchise. But
absolutely.
if this Jaden Daniels thing bombs, it could be really bad for the long haul.
That's just
Um,
good though, because I want to see this team succeed.
I do
And
too because they're one of the hallmark franchises of the National Football League. Let's be honest.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
Um, Go
but
ahead. You're good. Go ahead.
yeah, I'm going to say with the addition of Dan Quinn being the head coach, guys like Emmanuel Forbes, who was drafted last year. Was it last year?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was last year. He didn't have the best rookie season, but guys like
that's an
Dan.
understatement.
I mean, you had Ron Rivera there, who was a defensive coach, and then you had Dan Quinn. Some guys, scheme different. So with it, that's a position to watch right there. Will he do better in his second year? I feel like Emmanuel Forbes is definitely on watch.
I could argue. I could argue that Ron Rivera is a better defensive mind than Dan Quinn in a sense. Even though he had the Legion of Boom, he won a Super Bowl. I get it, but I mean, when you look at Ron Rivera when he went to the Super Bowl, he had no chance in hell in that Super Bowl. Peyton Manning's last game, he's
Yeah.
throwing noodle. He's throwing noodles. Von Miller was out of his mind. He had to go against Von Miller at the time. Come on, man. You know what I'm saying? I actually predicted that the Seahawks were going to blow out the Broncos in that Super Bowl, and it came to fruition. I just had a feeling before. I just had a feeling like maybe a week leading up to it that was going to happen.
Hey,
Ron,
when the Colts played the Bears in the Super Bowl, who was the
what
who
one?
who was the Bears defensive coordinator? Was that Ron Rivera?
I believe it was Ron Vera. Yeah,
Yeah, Ron
yeah,
Rivera as a
yeah.
coach, he's got some bad luck in the Super Bowls, don't
Oh, most definitely. I mean, think about it. I mean, your offensive weapon was your punt returner.
he?
I mean, come on, man. I mean, let's be honest. And then your best player, quote unquote, was Brian Urlacher, but it was Lance Briggs. But getting back to the Commanders, um, the Cowboys last year showed some flaws on defense, man. Especially that last game against Green Bay. That still has a bitter taste in my mouth. And then you hire this guy to be your head coach. I'm not saying he's not going to be good, but I don't know, man. It's they and they brought in some veterans. I believe Wagner, the linebacker, the future Hall of Famer. They brought Bobby Wagner. They brought in some other good pieces. They brought in some of the Cowboys roster, etc. Biotish and some other decent players.
Uh,
Um,
Cleveland Farrell, who was a former first round pick.
yeah.
That you bring in Dante Fowler and Dorrance Armstrong, like you said.
Now,
So
Dorrance Armstrong could be a difference maker, but Dante Fowler, he's been kind of jumping around,
yeah,
blah blah blah. So,
uh,
so again, it's going to come down to Jaden Daniels, and that first game against Tampa is going to be very telling.
yeah, another couple pieces, underrated pieces. I'm gonna say Frankie Louvu at the linebacker position. Frankie
Hmm.
Louvu was that dude, man. And then you draft your Jashawn Newton out of Illinois. Those are some
Yeah,
highlights.
and
Taking
Illinois has been producing some guys. Now we'll see how Illinois is in the next few years, because a lot of those guys were like, Lovie Smith come ups. Lovie Smith had those guys. Lovie Smith did a better, decent job. I mean, he didn't win at Illinois, but he recruited some decent players, and
yeah,
and has some good defensive guys. So yeah, definitely. Speaking of defense, let's go to the Philadelphia Eagles. Their defense struggled last year, had so many issues on the defensive side of the ball. They bring in Saquon Barkley. They're loaded at wide receiver. They're loaded at running back. They're loaded everywhere. You draft Cooper DeJean. You draft the cornerback out of Toledo, who's quiet, the quiet assassin. Um, what should I look for the Eagles, man?
I feel like their defense might take a step up. Their secondary was one of the worst units
Yeah,
league and on the team. So I think with the addition of the two young secondary guys, especially the guy Toledo, um, that gets better. And then um, you still have Slater. This is a year for Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis to shoot up. Like this, you can't stay at the same position that you were last year, because they didn't play too well in my opinion. But this year for both of those guys needs to be positive years. You add Saquon Barkley. I think the running back room is one of the best rooms you have in the league. You got Saquon, you got Kenneth Gainwell. Saquon right now, because we know with his injury history, but you got Kenneth Gainwell, Will Shipley out of Clemson.
love Will Shipley.
Yeah, so he's like a baby Christian McCaffrey. So you can use him in the run, you can use him in the pass. So um, then you have the Devontae Smith and then you have AJ Brown. So
The former Heisman Trophy winner. Yep.
yeah, so
You got Dallas Goddard at tight end.
yeah, so this is a
Cam Sims, who's been underutilized forever.
Chauncey Gardner bring him back. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
it's a very big year for Philly.
yeah. I think the Eagles are prime. The Eagles should be the favorite to win this division. But I will continue to warn Eagles fans and everybody around. And I've told you this before as well, Larry. The Eagles got to be careful of not repeating the DeMarco Murray situation.
Mm,
Got to be careful about that, because just
mm.
because it's a big name, but just because it's a big name doesn't mean it's always going to turn out well. And we've seen Saquon Barkley with his injuries, man. He's had injuries in the past, and we don't know how that's going to play. Also, you look at Jalen Hurts. How is he going to recover?
Exactly.
How is he going to recover? Is he going to keep progressing, or is he going to regress? I think that he'll get back to his stats from 2 years ago when he was dominating the Super Bowl. But we'll see. We will definitely see.
But
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to definitely see that how Saquon does in the actual run first system. So it did a fresh start for different players, and hopefully this is a positive one for him.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep it real simple with the Dallas Cowboys. I think that they have a decent team. I think that they got players in the draft that are pretty good. Um, we're gonna see what this Dak Prescott situation leads to because I don't know who you value more. Do you value CeeDee Lamb? Do you value Dak Prescott more? But the Cowboys are going to have cap room going to next year, I believe. So they should have cap room unless they do some, unless they make a sign here and here or whatnot. But when you look at the way the Chiefs and the Eagles um, structure their salary cap, they always find ways to get players in. I just
Always.
think that always. I think Ezekiel Elliott is going to have a better season. People think. I think he had a decent season in New England last year. Just that he had no quarterback. Um, I think he's in better. I know he's in better shape. You can see it. He's in better shape. He's more focused. He's more mature. He's older. I think he could have a decent season for them. I think their wide receiver room is going to be decent. Biggest thing, how is the secondary going to do? How is that defensive line? How are your linebackers? They have good linebackers. They drafted a pretty good linebacker on Notre Dame. They have some decent linebackers. They get Overshawn back. We've talked about him before out of Texas. But I have the Eagles right now, man, and I'm not completely sure about the Cowboys. Just not.
With the Cowboys, they could be one of these teams that they don't make a lot of offseason moves, and then people will be like, what are they? They didn't do anything. What are they doing?
They're
But
sneaky. They could be sneaky.
very, very sneaky, and it's guys that like Ezekiel Elliott that you were talking about. How do you feel like of course he's not going to go back to 2016 Elliott. But do you see
He is going back to number 15, so who knows?
do
He
you
could.
see cards of Ezekiel Elliott?
Like I said, he had a pretty decent year in New England last year. Just that he didn't have the quarterback. I don't know, man. I just think that I just think that when they got to the playoffs last year, I was already nervous for them anyway because I knew that the Packers were better than a 7th seed, as we see now. Okay. Um, Nothing any nervous is that they won all their home games and they just dominated folks. But it was concerning about the running game. Buffalo tortured them in the running game, right? Even if you see, people sometimes look at the games and look at the box scores, look at the final score, and don't look at the whole picture. Even if you look at the last game when they played the Commanders, there were concerning things. Like even though they blew the Commanders out, there were concerning things in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing people don't bring into account, they lost Diggs in week 3 and early in the season last year. So
Yeah.
he's coming back. You got the young cornerback out of Wake Forest, who I'm very excited for. I think he's going to be a very good addition. I think he could even move up to your nickel corner because now you got Bland, you got Diggs, and you could put him maybe in that 3 slot, and you still got Jordan Lewis, who works on those different nickel packages and stuff like that, coming off the edges, blitzing the quarterback or taking your running back, out of the backfield, etc. Because he doesn't have the greatest speed in the world, so you have to mix his packages up so he doesn't get caught on an island. But I think the East is going to be interesting, man.
There's a couple questions I want to ask. So now that Michael Gallup is gone, is this the year for Jalen Tolbert?
It has to be. It has to be. And I'll say this as well. I would not rule out Cowboys making a trade. Of course, they're not getting Brandon Ayuk. 49ers aren't that stupid. They would never trade. They would never trade.
What if they
would look, man? I'm gonna be honest with you. The only way that the Cowboys would get Brandon Ayuk is if they traded Michael Parsons straight up.
Oh, yeah, that ain't happening.
And that's not happening. but I mean, if Jerry called San Francisco and was like, "Here, I'll give you a first round pick next year." See, if they were to do something like that, they would have to go all in, and that's not happening. they're not going to do that. That wouldn't make sense. They got to pay him, and then they're going to give up draft capital. Jalen Tolbert, yes, Jalen Tolbert. This is his year to shine. This is going to be his time to finally show what he's got. Bottom line, you know. But go ahead though. What's your thoughts on that?
But go ahead, because I feel like you about to follow with something.
Oh no. I was just gonna say that for me, Jalen Tolbert has to be that piece. He has to be that ultimate guy who takes advantage of the situation. Um, I was looking at the Cowboys depth chart today. In fact, I've been looking at the last few minutes or whatnot. Um, they don't have a lot of depth now. This guy Ryan Flournoy out of Southeast Missouri. He has speed. He has the opportunity to make some things happen. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But to be honest, to really you know wrap this up and say this, it's not even really Jalen Tolbert I'm worried about. They're gonna it to me. They're gonna have to use Cavante Turpin better. Cavante Turpin is a weapon,
Instead of just
and
special.
he's more than special teams. So, but when you have a CeeDee Lamb, a Brandon Cooks, and a Jake Ferguson, and then you still got a Hunter Lepke, who people who haven't seen his highlights, he can play out of that running back position. He can even play as a fullback that comes out of the backfield. They got the weapons. They got the offensive line. I think Tyler Guyton is going to do well in the league. Guyton, Tyler Smith. I think Brock Hoffman or either Cooper BB at center will do great. You got Zach Martin, who's gotten a little bit older. I'm actually a Josh Ball fan. I actually like Josh Ball. He's 26 years old. He's out of Marshall. I think he can be the future at that right tackle position possibly. And you still
Mm-hmm.
got Terrence Steele. So they have a decent team, man. They just have to put it together. And I think not only for Jalen Tolbert, but also Mozzie Smith. He has to have a big year. He has to
Absolutely.
justify that first round pick. So,
Absolutely. And
but that's
one
about
the Cowboys, the linebacker room, is led by Michael Parsons, Eric Kendricks. Is a proven vet.
but he's more of a defensive end now. I don't think they even classify him as well. They classified him as linebacker so they could probably pay him a little less than what he was getting paid, which makes sense. But when you look at a guy like Damone Clark, when you look at a Overshown, um,
I was just about to say his name. Uh,
mm-hmm,
Lost him last season in training camp. So that was one of those linebackers I was looking at, like, he can do some things. And then the Cowboys drafted just this. I told you about him. Well, I didn't tell you about him, but I told you that I liked him.
mm-hmm.
Leah Fowl out of Notre Dame. I'm letting you roll right now. Everybody, watch out for this guy.
Oh yeah, he's gonna be a starter. And I'll say this about another guy on the defense who I think that you could put him at different spots. Um, Marquise Bell, he's a weapon. I mean, number 14, you saw from last year.
Yeah,
He's fast, he's agile. You don't want to put him in the box too much because he's vulnerable with the run, but he has the ability to make plays. You still have a Donovan Wilson as well. That secondary, especially that line, that safety and free safety position, is gonna be a little if it's gonna be a little bit iffy. But we'll definitely see how that goes, and we'll see because right now Donovan Wilson is slated as your starter, which should make people a little bit nervous because again he doesn't have the greatest speed, but he can be ball hawking. So overall, right now I got the Eagles winning the division, um, and that's just how I feel. Speaking of feeling, let's tell the world. Let's tell the world how we feel.
Tell the world how you feel.
Larry, tell the world how you feel, bro. Tell the world how you feel.
So, one thing that pissed me off Friday night, so somebody was playing on WNBA, and I was expecting to see the game on. I wasn't expecting to see the game, but I'm like, wow, it would be good if whoever was playing at the time was I can't think about it, but if they would be playing on Friday night on ESPN or ESPN2, but when you have Friday night games on Ion, when you have games on the U, the BSNX, Me TV Indianapolis, Fox 13 Plus, Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network, BSN. I'm not disrespecting the hometown networks because they're going to be played there, but on a Friday night when it's two teams that's in the playoff race and capable of giving you a show. And I mean, it's WNBA. You want to talk about taking the company and the league to new heights. Why don't you have these games on nationally televised games? ESPN2. What are you doing on there? You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to be ESPN, but you got to do better at this WNBA. Calling you out. Let's get better with this. You want to build your product? Start fighting. That's all I got to say.
You sure that's all you got to say, Larry?
Yeah.
Got anything else?
That's it.
That's it? Okay. Well, it's time to tell the world how I feel. Ah, boy, I tell you.
Yeah. Tell the world how you feel.
So, back 20 some years ago, R. Kelly came out with an album called TP2.com, right? Why am I sitting here reading on the internet that we have a COVID variant named KP3? What the f is going on right now? Like, yo. So you mean to tell me we got a new COVID variant called KP3.com? This is the remix to COVID, getting sick out the kitchen. Yo, what's going on out here? What in the Dr. Fauci hell is going on out here that we keep having these variants? We keep having this COVID. I thought when you got find something. I thought when you got I thought when you rolled your sleeve. Wait, remember what they say, right? Right, Larry? Roll your sleeves up. Take it, take it, take it, take it, take it, take it. You're gonna feel better. You won't be sick anymore. Well, bullshit. And yeah, that's right. I cursed. I don't care. It's bullshit. Everybody out here getting sick. Temperatures all high and stuff. Just crazy. But you know what's even crazier? You know what's even crazier than that, Larry? Do you know what happened on June 14th, 1998?
What?
On June 14th, 1998, on June 6th, on June the 14th, Michael Jordan hit a shot. And after he pushed him off, made the shot. The next day, guess what happened? The Bulls were no more. Since June 14th, 1998, the Bulls have been an irrelevant franchise.
They had their moments.
They had their moments, but then LeBron happened, which is LeBron. Jimmy Butler, D Rose's knees started to leave. And then this week.
Give it to me, man. You gotta give it to me.
This week. And listen, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. But of all cities, Chicago, Illinois, where there's already a high-profile situation going on, you're going to bring Joshua Giddey? That's right, I'm not calling him Josh. You're bringing Joshua Giddey to Chicago? The Chicago Sky are more relevant right now than the Chicago Bulls. At least the Sky won a championship a few years ago. The Bulls are still waiting for Lonzo Ball to get back. We're still waiting for him to get back. A once proud franchise who played on WGNN on Saturday nights, and you loved it. The Chicago Bulls, they were the talk of the town. Remember back in the 90s when Dennis Rodman was too sweet? Now they're just sweet and they suck. You know what they are? You know what they are? The Bulls are General Tso's chicken that's been sitting on the fryer for 6 hours, and they serve it to you and it fucks your stomach up. That's what they are. Oh my gosh. We traded for Josh Giddey.
Josh Giddey.
Giggity.
What? Yo, let me chime in real quick. So, it definitely sucks to be a Chicago Bulls fan because not only did you lose to Miami last year in the play-in, you lost from
They blew up
year
out. There was no Jimmy Butler. There was no Jimmy Butler. Come on, man.
Remember the year before? Wasn't it a close matchup?
You know what's worse than the fact that they traded for Josh Giddey? They hired Floyd. Yes, right. After Phil Jackson, they hired Floyd. And I don't even remember his first name because that's how irrelevant he was coming out of Iowa State. Tim Floyd. The Bulls hired Tim Floyd after they got rid of Phil Jackson. The last dance. I mean, the Bulls would have still been competitive. I don't think they would have beat San Antonio or the Lakers in the early 2000s. But they hired Tim Floyd. They had Ron Artest, Elton Brand, traded them. They drafted these guys and traded them. These guys, like Ron Artest, went on to win championships and choke a few fools, but that's okay. I mean, the Chicago Bulls went from, I don't know, man. And do you know something else I saw the other day? They had a chance to draft Karl Malone at number 12 and passed on him. And you think that the curse, well, let me not go there because then he's Josh Giddey. So maybe we dodged a bullet.
Who did the Bulls pick instead of Karl Malone?
It doesn't matter. We didn't get Karl Malone. It doesn't matter, man. Okay? It doesn't matter. It's like going to McDonald's and saying I got a cheeseburger, but did you bring home the ice cream cone? No, because the machine's broken. Just like the Chicago Bulls system is broken. They're broken just like the ice cream machine. You're complete utter fucking trash.
Good night, everyone.
It's caught in the crossfire.